Hello, people, and welcome to BTG. This is your host, Mr. Shaker. You know such songs as After Call and You Should Have Took the. And so now we're back to, of course, playing CastleMiner Z. And I wanted to finish my discussion with the Black Lives Matter individuals. But just on a side note, what I'm thinking about doing now is probably going to wind up building a little outpost, or not outpost, but build a structure to sort of encase my surrounding on that other hole. Right now I'm just trying to organize the supplies, make sure these are even. So I remember in previous games with this I had that set up. But I need to put those through just so those skeletons won't come through and wind up attacking me. So this is just all preventative measures. Anyways, as I was saying though, for Black Lives Matter, like I said, the statement and I was saying you had the statement, the exclamation point, and the question mark. I just think those are really the top two, what do you call it? Or not the top two, the three statements of, or the three actions. Best way I could describe the actions of those Black Lives Matter protesters. But I think the issue was they seemed a bit more like they wanted to be united with other individuals. But I don't know if this comment was true when I saw it on YouTube, where someone said they were actually a Native American. They were speaking about the pipeline issues, and they asked one of the Black Lives Matter protesters. They said, "Hey, we need help too." You would think, oh, they're supporting the struggle, but then they state, "No lives matter, only Black lives." Not the statement like Dave Chappelle made, where it stated that, where it says, "No lives matter until Black lives matter." It was only Black lives matter. I guess the person was probably just upset. So you can't expect one when they're angry to be logical. That's just not the way it works out. So if you ever see something on YouTube or on the web and someone's making a statement out of anger, don't try to propagate their ideas. Where they say, "Oh well, you see right here, you see what they said. Well, they say they don't like us, not a racist, yada yada yada." And it's like, no, these people were upset. That's understandable, and you can't just get mad at someone for being angry. If someone's angry, that's understandable. But then if you are yourself supposed to be rational, then you would understand that anger and try to find, not try to find a way around it, but if they're angry, then they're angry, but don't try to, break them down. At least give some solutions, as some people do. When someone says, "I don't want these people to protest," and then they don't offer solutions, well, how should they protest? All of the Republican conservative individuals silent. And I think that is a big issue, because since you have no answer, the only thing you can say is no. And even though one thing I did learn is that no is another way to answer a question. Like, rather than imagine you had to go left, right? You can go straight, right, back, or you go forward, back, right, or left. No one tells you to go left. What they tell you is you go forward. They say you can't go forward. You try to go right. They say you can't go right. You try to go backward. You can't go backward. You try to go left. They don't say anything. Then that's where you go. Then that's obviously the right answer. So I think the issue is that people, rather than trying to go through that hassle of going through those directions, why not just have the right answer? How should one protest? And my thing is, though, even with, like I said, the All Lives Matter, which if it actually was real, an actual real movement, then I'm just trying to make sure there's nothing here. I'm about to have to go down here in a bit and just have to put a bunch of torches around so nothing comes out of the ceiling, because they will come out the ceiling. But anyways, as I was saying, All Lives Matter protesters, you would think that they would have cared about some of the people that, when their houses were burning up in California, or even the people in Puerto Rico. They weren't there protesting. They were just there protesting against the Black Lives Matter because, well, they're not a real movement. They're just there to counteract Black Lives Matter protest, and a lot of people see through it. A lot of people see through it. The Spanish boy down the block sees through it, and since you can't run a scheme past these individuals, especially when people have encountered these scammers or con artists for a while, So I think that's the issue with it. But though I do agree with the all lives matter narrative, just not what they represent. I think I might have enough money for the K. Definitely one AK. I'll check out what else is here. Shotgun, okay. Well, let's see what else is. Let's see what else is available. But anyway, as I was stating, I think the issue with that's the one issue with the All Lives Matter protest. But the thing I was saying is eventually they should combine together. Just on the side note, I don't exactly agree with the Blue Lives Matter movement only in the name, only in the title, the name itself, because police it's an occupation. So when you say police lives matter, that makes sense. However, blue lives themselves, it's like they don't actually truly exist. Like there are no Smurfs running around, and there was one individual that was blue, and his life actually was treated as though it didn't really matter. It only mattered in the context that he was blue, because the guy I guess he has some condition, and once he was blue, people were thinking, oh, you could join the circus and yada yada yada, and then eventually wound up dying I forgot how, but it was just a bit odd that that's how he was treated at that point, just because his skin color actually changed. He was of Caucasian descent, but then eventually he turned blue. So yeah, it was just kind of it's kind of odd context. But yeah, that's what I was stating though. That's what I was saying. Like, Blue Lives Matter itself, it should be, let's say it should just be Police Lives Matter. And that, yes, I do agree with the cops. It's just that the idea is, you shouldn't say Blue Lives Matter as though they're now all of a sudden not it could be put into an ethnicity or something like that. It doesn't work out like that way. Now that I have that out the way, I do want to get into Black Lives Matter with my issue, because those were just the points. What I was stating before was what I was agreeing with. Now, the issue I do have with Black Lives Matter is I'll just say things that I had personally experienced myself. So I can't really say this for the movement as a whole. This is just for some individuals that I've met. Now, I was at this museum, right? It was supposed to be an African American history museum where they had MLK. It was a nice spot. I mean, I think a lot of people would enjoy it, no matter which race or ethnic background or creed, whether you're Christian or Muslim, whatever. That was it was a nice experience. It was a nice area. They definitely learned quite a bit about immigration. Like, I did not know that someone could be technically an illegal immigrant, not a U.S. citizen, I would say. Not a U.S. citizen for years, for 30 years without getting citizenship. And they could still wind up being deported, which was kind of odd for me to see someone to hear about individuals that could be in this country for so long and still not have obtained citizenship. I remember this one game that we were playing, some dice game, where you would roll it, and then I remember my aunt just said, okay, you did one roll, so it turns over. I'm like, no, the game isn't over. You had, of course, a lot of the kids where they weren't really playing it correctly, I would say. Or, they were just like, yay, we're just playing around, woo, 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 woo. And then I started to organize it myself, and a lot of the kids started to leave. But those that were there were actually there to learn. And it was kind of funny how you just be like the older adult of the situation, and just how everybody's like, oh yeah, let's get behind this person. He knows what he's doing. And I was teaching him stuff, and then I asked one kid, I was like, wow, oh well, it looks like, man. He said, well, your turn's over. I say, hop back in line, man, hop back in line, because he was standing there looking. I was like, no, hop back in line so you can get back in. And a lot of people were leaving because they were like, oh, it's not a fast game. Oh dear. Uh oh. Oh-ish. Ah, you one messed up my cross. Alright, that's it. Come here. Got to take on that. Had to shoot where it's going at. I haven't been in the range in a while. But yeah, as I was saying though, right, was that like like I said, the Black Lives Matter thing was that like I was here at this place, and then I remember one kid said something to me where they said that I said, oh, it took you 30 years to get here as a citizen. And out of all these I was talking about all the policies that would disqualify you from becoming a citizen, or what would counteract, or which would delay the process. And after looking at all the things that would delay the process, like whether or not your family member is your citizen, or whether you are married, which is, if you're married, you actually can get into the country a lot quicker, apparently. That's one thing I do recall. But now with the but now the thing was though, I remember one case said, at least I'm a U.S. citizen. I was thinking, yeah, that's it. Like, at least you are still a citizen. I started thinking, even though as long as it took him to get here, he's like, at least I made it here. At least now I am a citizen. Even though he probably was here the whole time. And I'm just thinking of that concept. That's probably what these people are thinking at some point. Ooh. Well, now what if it would all ended for me? It's running into me like a Banshee off of Halo when it's fully upgraded. That's some crazy stuff. But anyways, as I was saying, the notion was just that it's great to finally, at least you made it to the promised land, so called. I mean, you got to counteract some other things. At least it's better than where they were at, and that's what they were getting at with that whole immigration thing. I think someone recorded it, but I didn't see it on YouTube or even. Oh, I can see it on Facebook because I saw someone recording it, and I would have hoped that they would have posted it and shared the link or something like that. Maybe you might wind up seeing it later. Like, who knows? If I become famous or something, somebody say, "Oh, this guy was here at this place," and then they'll release a vintage video, like 5 years later, it comes up. But anyways, as I was saying, before that though, this was afterwards, but before that, I remember I read this MLK letter when he was in jail, and all we could read were the odd pages, and he was stating the issue with racism wasn't the racist people themselves. The issue, he said, it was with the white moderate, which is kind of the people which you will count a lot on the day, the individuals where they kind of say, this is not even just white people, these are a lot of individuals where they say, if it doesn't bother me, I'm okay with it. Or, it doesn't it doesn't bother them, they're okay with it. If it's what else is it? Oh yeah, if it doesn't bother them, then they're okay with it. And also and also, like, if they're just kind of, they're accepting the status quo. And the thing that's funny about it is that they'll say, if it doesn't bother them, they're okay with it. If someone else tries to change it and it does affect them, they will go against those people, even if the people fighting on their behalf, it just doesn't matter to them, which is kind of I think it's kind of a countermeasure. I remember those people where they were trolling Shia LaBeouf, even though it's kind of funny how they worked together just to take him down, using the power of the internet and just rolling around. I'm just thinking, out of all that power they did to troll people, what else could you do by I always wonder, what else could you do by with that type of mindset, so to speak. But my thing was that when I was there, I was reading the letter and I felt, kind of heartfelt, like, yeah, that was a nice letter. And I'm thinking, yeah, we can all stick together. Like, don't matter what race we are. So then But the thing was, there was a Black Lives Matter protest like I forget, it was like a couple hours before that, and they were in this was in Philly actually, and they wound up coming through. They wound up coming into the museum to look at it, and I kind of looked down. I saw this saw this black woman or black female, probably looked around my age, had dreads and stuff. I looked at her, right, a bit heartfelt, and I smiled, right. And I was about to wave, and I'm thinking, you know, I'm thinking, you know, you have two actions. You either can smile back, wave back, and then if you're like ups, you know, if you like didn't like the smile. The thing was that they looked at me, and they looked almost like looked at me in disgust, like I was a disease. And I'm thinking, like, right after I read that letter, it just, you understand the type of feeling you would feel after something like that actually happens. Because the way I'm looking at him was like, yeah, we're united, you know, humanity. And it's like, yeah, black people, we get together, and white people, we also get together. You know, I'm thinking like, you know, humanity. That's the idea, humanism. And they look at me like I'm a disease, like I'm worse. Actually, looked at me worse, on almost the same way someone would look at it. Now I gotta go quick though. But the way they looked at me was like same way someone would view a rat. I think actually rats, they would view probably a bit more. Actually, they looked at them a little more pleasantly the way she viewed me. And she was looking around, pointing at her friends, and then was trying to wave them on to come here to look at me. Like, look at this alien individual. Yes, I did have a large fro and a beard. It was a bit wild, but still, I'm just thinking, why would you look at someone like that? I've seen people with disfigured faces, and I didn't even look at them that way. I mean, honestly, I didn't even look at them. I never looked at anyone in that way, unless they were doing some. Actually, to be honest with you, I never looked at really. I'm thinking about no one really that way, at all. I mean, maybe in certain news that I hear, it was like, oh, disgust, but I never looked at them that long in that context. That was odd to me, how someone could maintain that facial structure that whole time. And then the thing was that she was waving on her friends to, I guess, you know, try to, I guess, hey, look at this guy. And this was a Black Lives Matter protester too, and they just didn't really care. So me, I'm looking like, oh, I gotta get out of here. And I'm looking at, oh, look how small the cells are in prison, or look at this, a black guy is more likely to get arrested than this other individual. You know. And I'm looking at all these other features, and they say how big the cell was, and I said, this is like 9 by 12 or something like that. I'm like, no, that is not 9 by 12. It's a lot smaller than that. And they were thinking about, oh yeah, prison. And then after all the culture that I saw, like my aunt was there, and then we saw like some things from her past, and she saw like the shoe shiner and all that, or the cobbler. And we had these certain exhibits inside of the museum. And out of all the stuff I was looking at, and they said, would you organize the budget? And people were thinking, oh, you could take away some of the military budget and organize it healthcare, put this towards education. Like, would you organize like healthcare? Because I'm thinking the U.S. has a powerful military. So, I mean, a lot of other nations would be in trouble, of course, if we're the ones protecting them. But, you know, they would have to fend for themselves if we're here going to try to make America not great again, but greater. And that's what I would really want. I want to make it greater, not great again, because certain things that we had in the past wasn't all that great. Some values we should recover, and other values I think we should actually explore on, because we're definitely got to go in a different direction, because this information age. So a lot of things will have to change. But my thing was just that out of all this, I remember when after I was done going to exhibit with mine, we were about to leave the place, I saw the Black Lives Matter protesters come through, and out of all the things that they could have picked, out of everything that they saw there at the museum, what they did was they saw the one black guy facing the white police officer, and the fence was between them. And this one black guy came through the crowd with some dreads. He's like, yeah, you see that? Going behind people and in front of them to kind of say, look at this is how the cops treat you. And then he goes behind them whispering in their ears and stuff. And I'm thinking, you mother ucker. Why are they like, what is, like, I'm thinking out of all the things that we could have looked at, like, oh look, we could organize the budget and help out all these other people. No, he wants to focus on the cops. That's all you want to focus on. The largest killer, actually, the thing that actually takes out the deadliest cause of death in the United States is actually heart disease. But no one wants to speak about the heart disease. And yes, police brutality can cause heart failure if you're thinking about a police potentially, taking your life. Yes, I do agree with that. But the issue is, it's also diet. But no one wants to focus on that. Because the thing is, Black Lives Matter does not matter to these Black Lives Matter protesters. The only thing that matters to them are black people that get killed by cops. That's it. I'll continue this next video. Sorry if I seem a bit extreme, but this is Mr. Shaker, people, and I'm out.